Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you an overpowered card cache build in Borderlands 4 that'll be nerf proof, as there's some very powerful combinations here that we can use, and we got infinite amount of a windfall here, so we can basically go in and out of windfall a lot and do so much damage here. So I'll be breaking down the entire kit, how to take down bosses quickly, and all things related to this build alongside a ton of different weapons, because it's very likely there's going to be a lot of stuff getting nerfed in Borderlands 4, so I want to talk about that. And yeah, we got our cards here very quickly, so the damage that we can do is insane and it's a lot of fun. So for a brief overview, each of the different augments that we have here adds a different card into our deck, and we can control this because we can go with less augments. However, there's some pretty powerful ones here. There are also D&D spell names, which I thought was really cool, and this is very much themed around Gambit, and I'm actually doing a Gambit mod for Baldur's Gate 3, so I thought this was really interesting. But each of these cards has additional benefits when we're in Windfall, and we need to get into Windfall. I actually tried a lot of different builds with the red skill tree, which is my favorite, but we need to get our ability to get our Windfall from critical hits. It's just going to be extremely impactful, so we can go just 1 point into Can't Stop Winning. This is similar to the green skill tree build I did the other day, because this ensures we can get into Windfall pretty much non-stop and do insane amounts of damage, because these get empowered quite a bit whenever you are in Windfall. So we'll start to build off right at the beginning. Now, there's some pretty cool options. I actually did an Ordnance build I was experimenting with. I may post a video in the future about that, because he's got a lot of good Ordnance abilities in the blue skill tree, similar to Amon, but I really like the insurance here. This gives us increased shield capacity by 40%, which is quite insane. It also gives us a recharge delay and rate increase as well, and whenever our shield gets fully recharged, we get a stack of fortune. So this can be really nice. There is a reload speed increase and also give you more Windfall chance. We don't really need Windfall chance because it's pretty much going to be automatic. You can also go with an increased elemental effect chance, but I do think the best choice is just go with our increased shield here. After insurance, I like to go with the Sounds of Rain. This is a fortune skill, which means that it can get benefits later on, like we do have things here and giving us increased bonuses. This is a critical hit chance, which is really nice, and our critical hits, again, are how we're going into Windfall. So this gives us a chance to critically hit with guns, action skills, and ordnance, and the more fortune stacks we have, the greater the chance. It's basically 1% per fortune stack, so as we get it up, we're going to have a higher critical hit chance. I think this is a solid option because it also works on our action skill too. Go for broke is a pretty cool option though, because whenever we get a fortune stack, there's a 1 in 5 chance that we'll get upwards of a +5 extra stacks, which is really good, but we don't have much trouble getting fortune built up, so I think that the extra critical hit damage on our action skill works very well. Now we can take Devil's Tines, as this is going to give us another augment. Now at the start, we're obviously going to throw on both of these here. This gives Acid Spray, which is normally like not a good spell in D&D, but here it's actually really good. Basically, this card's going to glow green in your hand, and you're going to shoot out like a fan of them in an area, but whenever Windfall is active, you throw a bunch of cards, and each card will do a Nova, so the damage is insane. You've seen it probably earlier. It just nukes everything, and it's corrosive, so armor goes down really quickly. Thunder to Table is also great. These also come with additional benefits at the top, so whenever Cash triggers Windfall while his action skill is cooling down, it'll automatically recharge it with Cowboy. And this one here, whenever we damage an enemy with an action skill, we gain increased action skill cooldown rate. I don't love this card, but Piercing Bolt is alright, and it can shock enemies whenever it's in Windfall. I take this one off a little bit later, but I do think it's a decent option, especially because the action skill cooldown rate is 11% per enemy hit, and you can have 25 stacks of it, so it is decent in the earlier sections of the game. But we're going to continue on here. I like to take another point into Late Scratch. Whenever Cash attempts to enter Windfall and fails, he gains a stack of fortune. Since we're going to be trying this on critical hits, you can get Windfall back immediately. It is extremely good. Now, as I mentioned, if you are going with the Ordnance, you can go with Double Down, which can give you a chance to double your Ordnance damage. I did try out, again, an Ordnance build, and it's very strong, but I do think at this point it's best to take a few points and go for broke. This is something that we're kind of gambling on, so it's not worth the full 5-point investment, but +3 is still quite nice when it happens occasionally. Now, we really want to get down here because this augment here is crazy. So whenever Cash activates Windfall, he gains Sleight of Hand charge equal to the number of fortune stacks he had. This is crazy because you can get like a 10 fortune stack, and then that's 10 extra cards in your hand. We also could go and continue on and get even further max fortune stacks, but the thing is we get in and out of our action still so often that it's not even super necessary, but this is still really good. And with this, we're going to take points into the payout here, as this is going to give us bonus fortunes, any of our fortune skills. So if you mouse over them and you see a fortune skill, that 10% critical hit chance is now 13%, or 14%, because this gives a +40% to that. Now, fortune skill here, Kill Button, gives increased ordnance damage, and this can be extremely impactful, but I'll be posting a future video on that because it is a little bit tight in terms of the points that we're going to be allocating. but we're next going to come down here and take Tender Hearts. This will give us increased critical hit damage, and when windfall is active, we get a chance to critically hit with our action skills. And this number is really high, especially if you have a class mod that boosts that. 24% in windfall is crazy. It's like 1 in 4 of these cards, and then even further with because we got these Sounds of Rain. So basically, like every other card is going to end up critically hitting, and the crit damage is very high. This goes really hard. If you can get a class mod with more points into this, I would recommend that. Now you can take a single point into Card Sharp, and actually a few points. This is really cool because Sleight of Hand does not consume charges for a few seconds. So basically if Windfall activates when we're in there, we're going to be able to throw cards for free. It's basically just 1 free card per second. It's okay. I think that's best to stick with Tender Hearts and then take our capstone here. So we're going to take off the Thunder card and leave the Cowboy and the Furious Fingers on. This is really crazy. Basically a chromatic orb, a Fire and Lightning card that goes back and forth, and it can leave an elemental hazard, which actually does an okay amount of damage. Typically hazards in this game are pretty booty cheeks, but this one's solid. This also lets us then take the hot streak here. Whenever Cash gains a stack of fortune, the next time he damages an enemy with an action or criticals or a gun, it'll be automatically a critical hit. So yeah, since we get critical hits that give us our fortune skills, we can then also get this here. And yeah, this is pretty powerful in terms of the damage we get. Next, we're going to go into the green skill trees. So this is important because we need to get down to Can't Stop Winning. This is super powerful on the green skill tree. I've done a red skill tree. This is super useful because with multi-hit guns like the Dark Beast you saw there, basically shoot 1 time and you're in Windfall. It's insane. I did experiment trying to do an infinite ammo build. It's just so much better with this skill tree here. So there's a couple options we can go with. So Charm Bracelet will give increased skill damage. It does have bonuses for like the totem benefits, but that's like 15% skill damage. I don't love this because we can only have 1 bone totem typically if we're using a specific class mod. So you're not going to get a massive boost to skill damage, but that is nice because our card damage would increase and the cards actually do quite a bit of damage. But Luck Be a Robot, this is a fortune skill. So this gives us action skill cooldown rate. So basically getting your action skill back extremely quickly. If you want a bit more survivability, you can increase your max health, but this is another bone totem, so it only really makes sense to take this one here. Afterwards, I like the Red Moon Rising. It's a windfall skill. Whenever windfall is active, Cash will deal bonus fire damage with his guns and action skills of 15%, and that gets taken up to like 21 or 22% with our other skill that we took in the blue skill tree. If you want to increase your elemental damage and effects, you could go with the O Fortuna, but I found that the extra bonus damage here is quite nice. If you're using Windfall like for the cards, I guess this is actually probably better, but the bonus damage is nice too. And we're all about statuses, but it's entirely your choice at this point. I didn't notice a huge difference between them, and even go in with Ready to Roll will give you action skill cooldown rate, which is kind of good to get your action skill back. But I just found this one or this one here are better choices. After this, we're going to take Devil's Tines and take another augment. You don't have to. If you're perfectly satisfied with just taking 2 of them, that's totally fine. But with this extra augment, I like to go with Sweeten the Pot. Going with the extra color spray card here is quite nice. It also gives additional charges. Or the Bet on Red. This is going to give you a vampiric lifesteal and has high critical hit chance and deals ordnance damage. It's actually kind of crazy. And it also works with a lot of the other ordnance ones. So if you're going with a full ordnance build, Bet on Red was really fun going with that. But I like to go with the color spray for the random damage types. And even going with the big pull can be good if you're mobbing. But I'm a big fan of Bet on Red because you get the lifesteal from it. So it gives you some really solid sustain and survivability. Now after this, you could go with Luckless, but we actually have a way to get this else how. Riding High, Windfall gets increased duration, so you can stay in Windfall for much longer. This is pretty useful. The Windfall is not something you're going to fall out of often because like you can go back into it so quickly, but if you don't want to go with that increased duration, it's basically taking our level or our 12 seconds of Windfall, and it's going to add 5 more seconds to it at max stack. So that's actually pretty solid. But again, we get into Windfall so often, and sometimes you want to get in and out of Windfall for other effects here. So you could go with O Fortuna, which will then give you that increase to the elemental effect damage because again, we do so many elemental effects. So it's between those two there. Afterwards, though, we're going to come down and we need to take that 1 point into Can't Stop Winning. This gives us a chance to critically hit with guns and action skill, which is fine, but it's whenever Cash critically hits an enemy, he has a chance to enter Windfall. So yeah, instead of just reloading manually, which is not something we do with the red skill tree, mind you, I actually tried a red skill tree and it didn't work too well because you don't reload manually because you get infinite ammo. So this is really good because now our crits will put us into that Windfall. And this also lets us take Turn of Fate. So I'd put the rest of the points into here. The critical hit chance is nice and the action skill critical hit chance, but you get more out of this Windfall skill here. So whenever Windfall is active, Cash gets lifesteal, and if his health is full, he gains Overshield Steal instead. This is pretty insane, I'll be honest. It's kind of like Vex's class mod, but in a different format, and you're going to be in Windfall so often, this is something that's pretty crazy. I'm actually going to put points back into the ride and high. I like to stay in the into that a little bit longer. We're not going full stacks, but we're going to again stay this here just because its life steal is super impactful. We basically are unkillable at this point. It's kind of crazy. 36% and staying in windfall pretty much nonstop. You're going to do a lot with this. Afterwards, we can then take Fortune's Favor. Cash will deal increased gun damage and skill damage, the more full his health and overshield are. So that's 30% gun damage and 39% action skill damage. Since we are going to be in or windfall so often, this is something that's pretty solid, and we're going to then have our life steal full to get these benefits. Then we can take 2 points into high stakes. This is a windfall skill. While windfall is active, Cash gets increased fire rate, freeload speed, and movement speed. It's a small increase, but it's something, and it also gets impacted by our other skills there. And this will take us down to the wilds. This is another windfall skill. When windfall is active, Cash and his companions deal random bonus elemental damage. And the bonus damage, that's 30%. So again, any of the gun damage increases that we do get added onto the wilds here too. This is also great if you're playing with your friends, so can be a solid option too. And finally, we got the Potent Posse here. This skill will give increased gun damage and increased companion damage. The more fortune stacks Cash has, the greater the bonus. This can be pretty effective here just to boost up our damage quite a bit. And I got this from a class mod, but if you don't, whenever Cash deals action skill damage to enemy, they become Jinx. Jinx enemies will take increased damage. The tooltip for this doesn't read properly because both of these are kind of reversed in what they mean, but they are going to deal 30% less damage. We deal 20% more damage to them, and we gain life steal against Jinxed enemies. This is pretty insane because then we're going to be, we don't have to be in life steal to get that life steal, or we don't have to be in that skill there to get life steal. It's 12% life steal. It's more than enough, considering we're going to put them in Jinx quite frequently. You can also put points into Tormented there. This will give us increased critical hit damage, and the bonus is actually increased against Jinxed enemies. So you can actually probably better to put the few points into that there just to max that out. And again, for a recap of our augments, we got Cowboy there. Whenever Cash triggers Windfall, action skills cooling down will automatically recharge it. This here will give us a number of charges equal to our fortune stacks we had whenever we activate Windfall. And the Bet on Red, whenever Sleight of Hand is active, we get a damage reduction. The more fortune stacks, the more the bonus, which is upwards of 30%, which is quite solid. Now, getting into gear, I am certain the gamer class mod is going to get broken, or it's going to get changed at some point. It's definitely getting nerfed. It works like Vex's bleed did prior to her nerf. Whenever we critically hit an enemy with a gun, we bleed that enemy, and whenever we bleed them with a critical hit, they get a chance to drop a chaos totem, which is a 14% because we're going to be in Windfall pretty much nonstop. It's crazy. I also got Ordnance damage on this one, so yeah, if you go with a full Ordnance, it can be pretty nuts. Now, this also came with a fun ability, the Trick Shot, which will add additional kinetic damage that ricochets around. I would love to get War Wagon there for the ammo back off of that, but it also gave us some points into the Tender Hearts here, which gave us that increased critical hit damage, the points into Accursed Bones, and a point into Potent Posse. Now, if you don't have this, there's also the Cash currently has the problem where you don't get his class mods as frequently as others. They didn't update him for whatever reason yet, so hopefully they'll have a better we'll have a better chance of getting Cash class mods. But the Hooligan here, whenever Cash kills an enemy, he gets a stack of Hooligan. Whenever Cash deals grenade damage, it consumes all Hooligan stacks, gets a 40% bonus fire damage per stack. If Windfall is active, it consumes half those stacks. This is great if you're going with a full Ordnance build, as mentioned. That can be very impactful. The Crack Gamer is going to be a very solid option as well. Otherwise, even just a regular one here, like the Swindler, can give your insurance, give a 56% shield capacity as well as increase elemental effects there. There are class mods from all the previous bosses in the game, so you can go hunt them, but the drop rates for them is pretty poor at the current moment, and they'll hopefully get updated at some point. But the gamers like they're going to get nerfed. It'll still probably be pretty strong though. Next we got for shields, the Watts for Dinner. This is the best in slot shield, unfortunately, in this game, so you're going to want to use that if you want to min-max. There's the new Elpis Star here, which is cool. If you use the mantra, it can actually drop a bunch of meteor clusters on the enemy, dealing damage. There's also the Honey Badger, which reduces self-damage. This doesn't really work on this build, but it's a cool concept. Fireworks is going to be great if you're just going around mobbing, because the rockets will fly and home in on enemies. So if you're mobbing, fireworks. If you're bossing, Watts for Dinner. Protein Cell works great, as well as the Super Soldier. Now for our enhancement, we're going to be using a lot of Torg on here, as Torg's really powerful, so the Stud Finder can be really nice, especially with the new Shalashaska weapon, which can just basically nuke anybody with this setup, because the increased Torg damage radius helps quite a bit. But if you don't have this, I also like to go with the, if you can get the Jacob's Bounce Pass that increases the ricochets by 1, that is a solid option as well. And even going with the Cov, getting 100% critical hit damage while overheating, pretty powerful, so that can be good on things like the Golden God. Now for our Ordnance, this is crazy. Heimdall is one of the newest heavy ordinances in this game. Now, heavy ordinances will benefit from gun damage increases and anything that's going to impact guns, as well as ordnance damage increases, so you can actually double dip on a lot of these. This fires off dollar heads, and they go around shooting at the enemy, and they do insane amounts of damage. Cannot stress that enough. The critical hit knife is still going to be a good choice though. Since we get into windfall by critting, and there's a lot of benefits we get from critting, we want to crit often, so this helps. The disc jockey is a very solid ordnance too, because this will home in on enemies. However, since we don't get infinite ordnance, I wouldn't recommend actually using those. I'm probably just sticking with the critical hit knife. I have the Heimdall on because it's still good with the 3 heads floating around. They just shoot at enemies. So before you get into a fight, shoot this at the ground and just have them going after targets, or shoot at the enemy. But for our Repkit here, the triple bypass still ends up being one of the better options, because this can give us our action skill back, which the now with caffeine specialization. But there is new ones like the Geigeroid here, which gives you shock novas, which deal damage. There's even the Blood Moon, which just recently dropped, but I still think triple bypass is one of the better options. Now for our firmware, it's just high caliber. This thing is so crazy. Bullets will pierce enemies, especially with Jacobs. You can sometimes pierce and get the ricochet back to the same target. It is quite insane how much damage you can get from this. And then 2 points into Deadeye works well too. Risky Boots is okay. I just unfortunately had that roll here, but yeah, 3 Deadeye, 2 high caliber, or 3 high caliber, 2 Deadeye are preferred, especially on a critical hit build like this. Now for our weapons, there's so many good ones. The new Scoot and Shoot, I love this. Basically, you can shoot a bunch of bullets and then phantom guns will keep shooting at the boss. So yeah, this will disappear on reload, but you can do some pretty crazy stuff with it. Again, we're gonna have to reload. We don't have infinite ammo in this build like other ones that I posted for cash. Or I guess I've only posted really on one other build, but infinite ammo and cash is really fun. Unfortunately, it doesn't really benefit us there. The Dark Beast is one of the best weapons for this build because it's got the piercing bullets, it's got exploding bullets, even though we're already piercing. With the shotgun loader, however, it shoots really fast and it can critically hit really quickly, so we're able to go into windfall easily with this gun. The Mantra with a Ripper and Jacob's part on it is still one of my favorite weapons in this game, especially if you're using the Elpis Star, which has that meteor cluster that'll drop on enemies. Super cool. I also like the Crazed Earl. This is one of the new pearlescent weapons. It's really good. You have to go in and melee enemies, and all those shards will explode and then go find another target. So it's crazy. And it could also come with the Jacobs and Ripper parts. There's the new Flash Cyclone as well, which I think is a pretty fun weapon, especially if you get Ripper and Jacobs on it, although it's a cryo damage only weapon. As mentioned, Shalasha is one of the best weapons in this game. Shoot at it with doing your automatic reload, and you're gonna get +5 ricochets, plus the Jacobs, plus the Torg here and the Jacobs that it comes naturally with. It's gonna explode and chain all those explosions down. I'll show it off in the combat section because it is kind of nuts. And a Dull Hand is also going to be a very powerful weapon. These are pretty nuts. Purple weapons in this game are actually kind of useful, so don't be afraid to use some of those. Now for our specializations, if you're going Ordnance focus, obviously throw on the Ordnance basic ones, the Fragmented Payload and Full Spectrum Arsenal, but we're not going to use that for this build. We're going to take Now with Caffeine, which lets you use your Repkits and get your action skill back. Really useful. I Am a Gun. This will add 50% of our gun damage increases onto our action skill, which is huge because that means we now have 25% just from the Riddle You This, and our action skills we're getting a lot of damage from. I would also recommend taking a Honed Mind, which will give you critical hit chance on that. We already have quite a bit, so it's further boosted by 5% and an additional 50% damage. This is pretty crazy because then we can just base almost not one shot, but you do insane damage per card. So here's the Shalasha, as I mentioned. It's really powerful because whenever you get those critical hits there, it's just going to ricochet and hit the target multiple times. So yeah, the Shalasha is one of the craziest new weapons that got added in the latest bounty pack. But you can see there, you hit those shots and they're going to do insane stuff. We don't even have to use our action skill. This weapon is probably the strongest in the game right now. And you can see right now we have 1 fortune stack and now we're in windfall. That is how quickly we do it. And then when we're in windfall, we're just basically gonna throw our cards here. You gotta be mindful though that you're gonna pull out 2 of them. So if there's a certain card you wanna use, you gotta kind of react quickly with these. Obviously which card you pick is gonna have that effect. Some of them are gonna be certain damage types. Some of them have life steal on them. And again, you can see here how quickly we're able to get the action skill back. Oops, I accidentally exited our action skill, but we're in windfall again. It's so crazy. And then you can throw critical hit knives before we took them out too quick. And it's so crazy how fast, literally 1 shot of the Dark Beast and we're in our action skill immediately. It's insane. So yeah, you just go in basically to start chucking your cards like crazy, prioritizing a certain one. Like I'm holding the green corrosive card there for whenever his armor went down, but you can always just go ahead with your Repkit to get your action skill back. That's the beauty of it. So now we have our action skill back. Oh, I accidentally canceled it again. But we get windfall almost immediately. So basically you want to get into windfall and you can see there, the cards are doing insane stuff that, yeah, just destroyed him there. So And here's the Crazed Earl with the Ripper parts on it. Now, the best part about that is you can go in and melee targets after you do all that damage there, so I'm going to go ahead afterwards. But yeah, once you get into Windfall, you basically just want to start throwing your cards because the damage that they can do is insane. Wow, we took out half of his health bar there and just a couple of them. Whenever you have the Crazed Earl here, you basically want to shoot at it and then go in and melee the target because then it's going to explode them all and do the damage. But that is an overpowered card cache build in Borderlands 4. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoy. This is a really fun build to play, and I'll let you guys know what I've come up with next for cache in Borderlands 4. Just been messing around with this kit quite a bit. I honestly think all of his skill trees are very fun, so yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments and hit the subscribe button below. We'll catch y'all in the next one.